Hello, and welcome to our live stream from Wisdom Way Center for Spirituality on spiritual themes. I'm Dr. Marian Diaz, the director of Wisdom Ways, and usually I have Carly Swenson, our communications strategist, with me, but unfortunately she can't be here today, so I'll just be doing this by myself. I'm super excited about the topic for today. This is actually at this point in my life, it's like my favorite spiritual theme, I think. And so I'm excited to talk to you about this. And the theme is flow. So you would have seen that on the little thumbnail. And flow is actually a psychological concept. And it was developed primarily through the work of a man named, I'm going to say this correctly, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and he started studying happiness and exploring what happiness means in the human experience after the suffering coming out of World War II. So a lot of psychological development really came out of deep experiences of suffering and loss. And his work, his research, is, I think, one of the gifts that we have that came out of that experience. So as he was exploring the depths of what happiness can mean to people, he started looking at experiences that, for example, were of artists who were in their creative flow. We'll use the language. Or perhaps like basketball players, or a team of basketball players, right? So flow can be something that's personal and individual, but it can also be something that is communal. And what we're finding, and what neuroscience is actually backing up, is that the experience of flow itself is the experience that gives us the most positive combination of neurotransmitters that you can create. So you might think it might be a romantic relationship, or you think it might even be sex or some other experience of life. But really it's this experience of flow that brings about a heightened sense of deep joy and integration and productivity. And so just think about, now I'm going to talk a little bit more about flow, and then we'll go into an experience like we usually do, and we'll kind of evaluate it. But flow in terms of an activity. So maybe think about the current type of work that you do, maybe professional life. Maybe flow for you is some sort of physical activity or sport or musical instrument that you play. And when you find flow, you're going into this experience of challenging yourself. And the challenge isn't so much that it frustrates you and you just want to shut down, but there's enough of a growth challenge in it, and it's still engaging enough to really keep your interest without becoming too easy, and it leads to boredom as well, right? So if you're not pushing yourself, then you're not really in flow as well, because you'll just get bored, and if it's too hard, you'll get anxious and stressed and frustrated, right? So we've got to sort of find this sweet spot between the challenge that you're engaging and your skill level. So as you're going into an experience of flow, and maybe just think about this, in what areas of your life do you experience this? Are you ever doing something and you just sort of get lost in the activity? You become much less sort of self-conscious. You're not worried about little things you have to take care of outside of that activity, and you're very focused. And that experience itself, and the creativity and the production and the growth that comes out of that, is really an experience of self-transcendence, because you are able to move beyond yourself, in and through yourself, into this activity that is called flow. So for myself, I find flow in a variety of activities in my work, a lot of times, different times when I'm engaging in work, even meetings. I even feel sometimes like our team is in flow when we're really syncing and working well together. I feel that in terms of certain relationships that I have. I feel it during sometimes a great workout. And sometimes flow can also be an experience for me. I would say in a creative environment, it would be most likely if I'm writing something or if I'm creating content for a program or a course. So just step back and maybe consider that. Are there times that you have somewhat lost yourself in an activity? And think about, wow, what did that feel like? What was that like to you? And how might you describe that experience for yourself? Okay. So I'm going to lead us through a more imaginative, active meditation today. Since something that flow is something that is active, we're going to bring this into our meditation experience, and then we'll do a little bit of unpacking of that afterwards. So, okay, just ask you again, get yourself comfortable, get situated, turn off your notifications or just silence your phone. Make sure you're not going to be interrupted during this time. It's one of the things that going into flow, you want to make sure that things won't be interrupting you, and you want to be protecting kind of that space so that it's not going to be disrupted. Okay, so now that you're comfortable, take a deep breath and we'll begin. Okay, let's just start with 3 deep breaths. Just inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And inhale and just release and exhale. And just start by noticing that flow of your breath. This flow happens automatically for us. It goes in and out. We take in and we release. So just feel that dynamic in your body. As your diaphragm moves up and out and then lets go. So there's a release to begin. Just feel that release. And rest, putting down the details of your day and coming into this shared space. Feel that flow of life around you and within you. And now bring to mind some, not so difficult, but maybe thorny issue you're dealing with in your life. Maybe it's related to your work or a relationship or something with your own health. Nothing too hard, but just bring something to mind that you're wrestling with, that there's some struggle around that you're experiencing. And just perhaps imagine it as, maybe a ball of energy or something in front of you. And what we're going to do for the next few minutes is that actually imagine that we're in a canoe or a kayak. Okay, now if you're afraid of water, just imagine that this is an untippable kayak. If you can't swim, you are going to not fall out of that kayak. And just set that issue down in front of you in this kayak and perhaps imagine the surroundings. What does your environment look like? Are you on a lake, on a gentle flowing river, some peaceful environment? Are there trees around, birds, maybe even deer on the shore? Feel the body of the kayak around you. And just notice that you're gently floating. And I want you to pick up your paddle. Grab it with your two hands and just begin to paddle. And move your kayak forward through the water. Set a course, set a direction. Feel your energy, your strength powering the movement of the kayak, moving it forward with ease. Feel which direction you're supposed to go. Sense the power that you feel in that movement. Start to paddle maybe a little bit faster, a little bit more strongly, as you feel the pull of the direction that you're supposed to move going forward. And feel that anticipation. As you're rowing, you're noticing inside yourself your energy growing, your strength growing, and your focus increasing. And then you notice up ahead a buoy, bobbing up and down in the water, floating. And you come to realize that it's that buoy, once you get there, that thorny issue will be unraveled. The way that you're supposed to deal with it and address it will become clear to you and be undone. And knowing this, you continue to paddle, confident and strong and free. And as you get closer, you notice that in fact, that ball of energy is just dissipating and shrinking and dissolving. And then all of a sudden you notice you've soared past that buoy and you continue to paddle. You continue to move forward with grace and ease and strength and joy. And then you begin to slow down your strokes. You start to pause. You actually set down the paddle, just prop it on the top of your kayak, and just really look around. You take a breath, you rest, and you notice the beauty of your surroundings once again. You come into this open space. You feel the natural world around you, supporting you, and it's one with you. Just invite you to enjoy this feeling and take a couple deep breaths. And come out of that experience gradually together. Okay, well, as you're sort of gradually coming out of that experience and noticing the space around you, the room where you actually are, perhaps the people around you, the animals around you, the plants around you, I just want you to really think about that experience in terms of where was your comfort level, right? That's one thing. Was it something that was too easy for you, so you were bored? Was it something that was too hard for you and you were having anxiety? Or was it something that you felt comfortable with as you were going through this process? Was it something that you trusted your own capacity and your own intuition and your own ability to get to the point where this problem or issue would dissolve, that you would have the capacity to address it and deal with it? And also, were you pushing yourself? Were you feeling that in some ways you were striving toward some resolution of that issue and moving forward toward eventually that buoy and getting to a point where you knew that you had the capacity to deal with life and to integrate? So part of the point in the way that I designed this experience is to, we have some notion sometimes where our surroundings are impacting our capacity to be in flow or not. It could be supporting it or it could be hindering it. So sometimes there are things around us that distract us, right, from our focus in terms of what we're doing. So I wanted this to be an experience that took you into something active that you were actually imagining you were doing, where you did sort of have to focus on what was going on and on what you were doing, almost kind of shutting out that natural world for a while. But the thing with flow and the way that it happens is that it is actually a cycle. So there's a way that you have some situation you're dealing with. There's some struggle part. There's some really uncomfortable parts to it. And then usually what happens is you're struggling, you're learning about the task at hand, you're expanding your skills. And then you need to go into sort of a space where you put it down a while, right? Maybe you put that issue down. And then you go into this creative time of flow. Flow itself takes a lot of energy. This work takes a lot of energy and exertion. I'm not saying it's simple. But then you also, after that, need a recovery period. Just like you need a recovery period after a workout or an exercise, you need that. So while in this example, I was using meditation to help you experience an active sense of flow, sometimes for you, a meditation experience or a practice like this will actually support your recovery time after a heavy sort of work experience related to flow. So I just want you to think about that too. Meditation really has been shown, and different practices around centering or prayer, whatever you choose to call it, has been shown to actually enhance our brain activity and to grow, the healthy matter that make up our brains. And so it's something that's shown to have tremendous neurological benefits. So although we do meditation for itself, right, because it's an experience that just doing it is pleasing and an experience of joy and pleasure, we also know that it does have a lot of positive impacts on us and our well-being. So those are it's kind of like flow experiences too, right? Mihai talks about this experience in interviewing an artist early on in his research. And the artist would just keep making art, making paintings, but then didn't really care about them when he was done. And it's just the process was so engaging, right, itself. And yes, there are all these beautiful creations and productions that come out of that. But really there's something when it comes to flow that the process itself is its own value and is enjoyable and really brings a depth of happiness, pleasure, and integration into human life as a whole. So we'll throw a few links in the description around flow for you to explore this more if it's of interest to you. And as we're finishing, thanks for being here. I ask you to like and subscribe this video as we're continuing to get closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next Monday.